Sorry for the skip there. So anyway, as you can see that we have a picture and then some text. This is just normal post content like you would normally create in any post or page that you've done before yourself. But then on the side, we have this nice little box on the sidebar called Project Details. And this allows, this is where the theme displays some of the information about the post. So there's those categories. It's a tech literacy project and it's a youth and education project. And then also the place where it was done was in the US. Other projects were done in the Middle East or in Africa or in Latin America. And so those get the appropriate taxonomy. But as you can see, there's something wrong here. In fact, there's two things wrong here. One is that there's a whole bunch of space in between project details and skills needed. That's not a huge problem, but it looks really wrong to me, and I want to change it. And since we're in control of this whole website, there's no reason that we shouldn't. The second is that categories is kind of a really bland way of saying that we can do something more colorful like project themes or issues at hand or whatever have you. The point is that categories is too bland and it's in our power to change, so we're going to do that. The second, skills needed, that doesn't even make any sense. So we're going to change that to project location or just location. And before we check out how to do that, I want to just show you a little bit about where those are inputted. So there's the categories, tech literacy and youth and education. Those are just regular categories. You've probably seen those on your own posts. And they show up right there. Then the other one is skills. You probably haven't encountered that before, but it's what's called a custom taxonomy. You can add these yourselves using a plugin, or you can write them directly into a theme. But basically, it functions exactly the same as categories. In fact, you can see it says add new categories. It functions in parallel to them. You could have subcategories under US. I could have like Western United States or Deep South or what have you. It acts just the way as a category would. So that's enough of that. So we're awesome. We're hackers, but we don't know how to code with PHP. That's the language that WordPress is written in. Like, I've been doing this for quite a while and I still don't know how to code with PHP. I took a PHP class, but I forgot it all. But luckily, that's not important for the needs that we have or the needs of an organization that you might be working for. So we just need to know just enough so that we can get categories to say theme and skills needed to say location. And so to do this, we're going to go into the theme files. Going over to CyberDuck. I'm going to open up, this is the Everett side, I'm doing this live. And so your theme files are always, you go to public HTML, those are all of the publicly accessible files on your website, on your domain. Themes are in WP content, themes. Now, Avada is the theme that we purchased for the Everett website. It's at the time of this recording, it was the #1 rated theme on ThemeForest, and it offered a lot of great features and extra stuff that we really liked. We liked the look, the clean look of it. We liked the feel, so we went ahead and got it. Now, you guys are probably learning about, or you definitely are learning about child themes right now, and a few of the reasons that we use those is because we need to be able to alter a theme in a safe environment. If you went in here and started messing around with all these files, then you run the risk of breaking something, and then you'd have to reinstall the theme, and that means that you might lose some other stuff. If there's an update, well-supported themes do create or send you updates. If you were to update, then you would lose everything. But with a child theme, we create a safe environment in which we can mess with the style, mess with the templates, and it won't hurt us any. If you screw up, then all you have to do is either hit Command Z enough until everything's better again, or just throw it all out and start again. So anyway, we're going to go into the Avada Child theme, and let's start with something easy. So I'm going to open up the style sheet. As you can see, we already got some other stuff that we've done. These are just little tweaks that we did to make the theme, to make the website look the way that we wanted it to. So I'm going to, so we want to get rid of this big space right here. So we'll just use the inspect element. On Chrome, it's just inspect element. If you use Safari, then you're going to have to go into your advanced options and enable developer tools, and then you'll get the same option. If you're using Firefox, then I suggest you get the extension called Firebug, because Firebug is really an excellent developer kit. So I hit the little magnifying glass, and that allows me to zero in on any particular element on the screen. So there we go. As you can see, it highlights project details, and then there's that little brown box underneath of it. That's indicating that there's padding, not padding, sorry, margin underneath this H3, heading size 3. So there you go, I selected it. We can see it here in the markup. I'll scroll down to, there's the box model. You can see that there's a 40-point margin on there. Now, if you remember your CSS, then you know that we need to select for the exact element that it is that we want to change. This thing is an H3, but it doesn't have an ID or a class or anything on it, so we need to be able to specifically zero in on just this heading 3 that says project details once the page is loaded. So all we need to do for that is just kind of go up one level, and we see that it's inside of a div with the class project info. And that's going to be what we use to select for it. So with that in mind, I'll just copy that. With that in mind, I'll go back to Text Wrangler. And here's my style sheet. I'm going to create a new CSS class. So we do dot because I'm selecting for a class. Project info. Remember, there's the div with the class project info. Put a space and H3. And so what this is saying right here is that whenever there's a div with project info as its class and then has an H3 inside of it, then it's going to apply whatever style rules that we give it right now. And so I just want to make it a bit shorter, so I'll do margin bottom. And I feel that 20 pixels is about right. So we'll save it, refresh, and let's see if that worked. And it didn't. My code is right, and hopefully you guys won't have to encounter this kind of problem. Avada has all throughout its style sheet a bunch of these important tags. Let's see if I can, there it is right there. This is a huge, huge, huge no-no when it comes to coding. What the important tag does is that it overrides all the natural hierarchical nature of CSS. CSS is supposed to be this beautiful, cascading, well-reasoned, perfectly logical thing. But the people who are designing these themes and these style sheets don't always follow the rules, and so when they try and change something and it's not changing the way they want it to, then they slap this important tag onto it, and that kind of makes it all better. But the problem with that is that the next person that comes along and actually wants to tweak something to their liking, then they can't do it because it says important right there. It overrides everything else. And so sometimes the only way to override this is by adding important yourself. This, again, you don't need to remember much about this stupid important tag. Just know that if we find it in any of your code, then you're getting points off because it's terrible. Don't do it. It is horribly against best practices. So now that we've done that, let's see if it works. And there we go. That looks much better, doesn't it? Once the page loads. There we go. Just the small change of taking away some of that white space in between the two headings in my opinion, created a really big change in the way of the look of this page. So that's our first task is done. The next thing that we want to do is change categories and skills needed to read text that we want. Now, Avada has a lot of theme options. There's debate in the WordPress development community about whether or not you should include theme options. Um, Personally, I think that you should. They're very important. They allow your end user to customize things, but they also mean that developers don't get a second paycheck when their clients want to change some little thing. But as you can see, there's lots and lots of stuff, and these are great. We love them. But no matter how well developed the theme options are on any theme, it's never going to be able to change all the things that you want. So we need to go straight into the template files to be able to change this thing that we want.